Are you struggling with communication? Do you find yourself frustrated, misunderstood, or arguing with your significant other or with others? If that's happening for you, you are not alone. 50% of marriages end in divorce because of the number three reason for this, which is lack of communication, arguing, unhealthy communication. And it does not have to be that way. So today I'm going to give you um, some tips and support to help you to deal with that lack of communication and the constant arguing. I'm actually putting the two of them together in one. So, and I have definitely, I would say most of my life, I did not know how to communicate in a healthy, um, kind, compassionate, assertive, confident way. So it doesn't have to be that way. I'm Pleasure Coach Virio, and I want to share with you today some amazing, powerful tools that have helped me to be a better communicator. And I am one of those 50% stats of people that their first marriage ended in divorce. I was married for 17 years. And 9 years ago, I chose a separate path. And definitely number three and four, the constant arguing and lack of communication, was part of our demise. So I have learned to be a better communicator as a result of that marriage ending and my choices and moving forward. So 65% of second marriages end in divorce. And I don't want to be one of those statistics. So I'm doing my best now to clean up my communicating so that when I am blessed to have the opportunity for a second marriage, that I will be in a better place. So two of my amazing resources are both by Thich Nhat Hanh. And one of them is The Art of Communicating. I'm going to share a couple passages from there and his book that literally saved my life. 5 years ago, I had a complete mental, emotional, nervous breakdown, and I had a lot of sadness in me, a lot of grief, and I had a lot of anger, a lot of rage, and I didn't know what to do with it, and it was toxic. And Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Anger, Cooling the Flames, helped me to find some peace. And I really agree with him. You don't have to agree with me on this. I would say go test it out for yourself. I agree with Thich Nhat Hanh that when we're in that place of especially anger, which is a very toxic, draining emotion, that we don't communicate with another at that time. We wait till we get ourselves more to a place of inner peace and love and compassion, more of our best selves. My experience has been when I'm here that I have a lot of messes to clean up after. When I communicate from here, it's way better for me to get myself here. So I'm going to share some tools so you can get yourself from here to here. One of my superpower tools in my toolkit, which I'm not going to go into today because that would take a longer time, is belief or patterning. So, and if you just want somebody to listen to you, I do have on Fridays, I just opened up my schedule. I'll put the link in below. If you've not worked with me before and you just want to have a taste of belief or patterning, or you want somebody to just listen to you without judgment and without advice giving, I will put the link to my calendar below. And I open up 1 hour on Fridays for the next little while, not sure how long, where I will gift you 15 minutes of my holding sacred space for you and really listening. And thanks to Thich Nhat Hanh, I'm a way better listener now than I ever used to be. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, I'm just going to paraphrase this part. He says that part of the problem is we don't actually listen to our own inner child, our own inner self. So when we have anger, sadness, grief, especially anger, all of these triggers, and this is in harmony with how the brain works and what I've learned about belief or patterning, is that what is actually being triggered is from when we were in utero to 7 years old. My psychologist said that 90% of what is upsetting us, triggering us, making us anger has nothing to do with that person or that situation. 90% of it is from when we were in utero to 7 years old. And it's just that button is being pushed against. So it's we can't control what other people do, and it's not our fault that those things happen. However, it is our responsibility to deal with our behavior and how we respond now so we can get ourselves here. So let me know if you can relate to that. But we do have a tendency to blame others. We have a tendency to stay in victim consciousness, right? That's kind of what our society perpetuates. And we also have a tendency to beat ourselves up when we make mistakes. So when we're here, the reality is when you're in fear, anger, doubt, sadness, grief, you actually only have access to the 4 Fs, fight, flight, freeze, or FU, and you can't actually make a better choice. So I encourage you to stop beating yourself up when you make decisions and choices and behavior when you're in that place, because you couldn't have access to your prefrontal cortex. So just be compassionate with yourself and hopefully compassionate with others. So I'm going to share with you what Thich Nhat Hanh suggests. I'm going to read it to you in a moment. And then I'm also just going to share what I started to do as a practice 5 years ago is if I was angry, I would tell the person I was angry with, I'm really triggered right now. I'm experiencing a lot of anger. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go journal. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go do my practices. Can we talk later? And when I'm meditating and when I'm quiet, the practice that Thich Nhat Hanh suggests is a mindful breath practice. I'm going to share it with you right now. So he says, you say to yourself, breathing in, I'm aware of the anger in me. So breathing in, I'm aware of the anger in me. Breathing out, I have compassion for my 5-year-old girl in me. And exhale that. Breathing in, I have compassion, or I acknowledge. It's not exactly have to be in an exact way, but it's more like breathing in, I acknowledge the angry 5-year-old, or I acknowledge that anger in me. And breathing out, I have compassion for my 5-year-old and for this energy of anger right now, this angry baby in me. And you just keep breathing in, acknowledging the anger, having compassion for yourself as a 5-year-old, acknowledging it, acknowledging your 5-year-old, exhaling, having compassion. And you do that as long as you need to until you come to a place of calm and stillness and more of who you really are. And then what Thich Nhat Hanh says is the person who triggered the other person, that he has a few suggestions that I'm going to read with you here. So I'll read those ones and then I'll read the other suggestions he has. So if you're the person who triggered the other person and they've just told you, hey, I was just triggered right now by what you said, he says that you respect the other person's feelings. Do not ridicule that person, and really allow them enough time to go and calm down. Okay, so don't like chase them and say, I want to talk to you and da 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 da. So just leave them alone, give them some time. Then he says, do not press them for immediate discussion. Don't make them, because that's where we end up with arguing and fighting, right? Is when we force the person or pressure the person to talk right now when they're angry. It's like, don't talk when you're angry. Don't insist that they talk to you. Let them go away and find their way home to themselves. All right. And then confirm the other person's request for a meeting later. So let's say I was the one who was angry. I might say, I was triggered. I've got some anger I'm moving through. Can we talk later tonight after supper, or on Friday after 3 o'clock, or, request when you would like to talk. And then, so if you're the person who triggered the other person, you acknowledge, you say, yes, I can talk with you at 3, or no, I can't. How about 5? And you negotiate that. Okay. And then he suggests that you actually go and practice breathing as well, if you were the one who triggered the other person with anger, and you take refuge in the island of yourself. And while you're meditating, you're also holding space for that person. And he says that he talks about these as seeds of anger and unkindness that we have in us, and that those seeds are watered and ignited when things are triggered with us, right? So he says, acknowledge when you're meditating. So you might breathe in. Breathe in. I acknowledge the seeds of anger in myself and seeds of unkindness in myself. Breathing out. I have compassion for myself for those seeds of anger and unkindness that are in me. Breathing in. I acknowledge the seeds of unkindness and of anger in me. Breathing out. have compassion for myself and those seeds of anger and unkindness in me. And then acknowledge that, that you triggered that other person and caused them to be unhappy. To just own that was your part. And then he says to also acknowledge the mistake of wanting the other person to suffer. Sometimes we unconsciously want other people to be punished or suffer, maybe for something they did. Maybe we were angry at something that they did, and then we, reacted to them. And to recognize that it's a mistake to believe that if another suffers, it's actually going to if they're punished, it's going to make us feel better. Suffering never causes a win on both sides. It never will. In the long run, when another suffers, we also suffer, because we're all connected on some deep level. So your suffering is my suffering is your suffering. So, and my healing is your healing, and your healing is my healing. So just to acknowledge that. And then he says the last one is to acknowledge that when I make the other person suffer, I also suffer. So that would be one. And then I'll just read, close on this. So he says, so if you're angry, refrain, of course, from doing or saying anything, which is what I said, because that will just be like gasoline on the fire. It's just going to escalate things. Then he says, but not to repress the anger. So we often do that. We have a tendency in our Western world to repress the anger. So it's either explosive and then people are judged, or we repress it. And it's like, no, I'm not angry. We're clearly angry. So don't repress it. Acknowledge that it's there, right? And then practice breathing and taking refuge, going within yourself. And then he says, calmly, within 24 hours, if you haven't already communicated to the other person that you were triggered and that you were angry, to let them know about the anger and suffering. And either, verbally, you can tell them, or you can write a note and say, when you did this, I was really triggered and I was experiencing anger. That hurt when you said that. And then he says, ask for that time later to be able to talk with them in person. And don't say, I'm not angry when you're angry. Don't deny it. And then practice the breathing and acknowledge when your own unskilledness, and acknowledge those seeds of anger within yourself. And also acknowledge the other person's suffering and see them as that 5-year-old. And then if you were unkind in any way you're reacting, to apologize. Clean it up, right? So when we are going to make messes, we are human. That is the reality. And the sooner we can clean up the messes and apologize for them, the better. So let me know if that served you in any way. So that was the number 3 reason that 50% of marriages, number 3 reason that 50% marriages end in divorce is from lack of communication and constant arguing. All right. I am going to be coming back here next week. I'm going to unplug for the weekend, and I'm going to share with you the number 4 reason that marriages end in divorce, and 65% end in divorce as well. So let me know if this served you in some way. Give me a like, give me some lemon. And also, I want to let you know I've opened up my calendar on Fridays for the next little while. And I am between 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and 12 noon. I'm opening my calendar every Friday for 15 minutes. I have 4 15-minute spots. And if you are just feeling like you would like somebody just to sit and listen with you with no judgment, no advice giving, hold space for you, or maybe you're just curious about what belief or patterning is and how the 7 steps can help you in getting from that state of anger home to your place of calm, let me know. I'll put the Calendly link in the comments. I think I can do that. And it would be my honor, my joy, pleasure. It's a gift, my gift to you. I just really know that a lot of people are struggling right now. I'm Pleasure Coach Vireo. It's been my joy and honor and privilege and pleasure to serve you here today. Let me know if this supported you. And if you know anybody who is struggling right now, especially with maybe that you notice that they're arguing a lot or criticizing or speaking unkindly to their partner, please feel free to share this with them. And I look forward to sharing the number 4 reason with you in my next video. Namaste.